welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. It is November 17th, 2021, and this is our inaugural HospTalk. I am so excited to be here tonight with our guest, Amanda Fry, newly Amanda Fry. She just got married, and we are going to get down and dirty into talking about who she is, what she does, and how she got there. So I'm going to hand it on over to you, Amanda. Tell us who you are, what you do, and what your organization does and what you do there.
Sure. So thank you so much for the introduction. My name is Amanda Fry. Very weird to say that still. I work for the Los Angeles Convention and Tourism Board, and I do destination services there for the global tourism team. Essentially, what we do is it's a large-scale tourism operator that brings business into the city of Los Angeles, whether it be, conventions, very large events. Probably the most popular conventions that people know about is Comic-Con, that's a convention. And then we also do, tours. So if you think about, if you ever traveled internationally and you've been on a tour group, that's something that our team works with as well. So like I said, Los Angeles Tourism and Convention Board, that is where I work.
Awesome. And so this brings up a good point, because we talked before, I mentioned that I teach about this and I still get confused about what a tourism board does, what a DMO does, what a DMC does. So I think you have some info on catching us up on clarification of those terms.
I do. And to start off that with, hospitality is, a very diverse industry. And I think a lot of people, when they think of hospitality, they think of the basics, which is restaurant management and hotel management. And then whenever you go into school and you go into choosing a major and you're like, okay, what do I do? Parks and Recs are usually in there as well. But there's this whole other world to hospitality that people don't even recognize. Like you mentioned before, a DMO, which is what I work for, it's a destination management organization. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up a slide if you guys don't mind to kind of showcase that. But here's some different facets of hospitality that aren't really recognized when you're going into whenever you're going to get your degree in hospitality. So the major ones are DMOs, which are destination management organizations, DMCs, which are destination management companies, because we like to confuse people. And then there's the event planners, which what a lot of people know about as well. I do want to mention that DMO can also stand for Destination Marketing Organization. They're not the same. I can get more into that later, but for the most part, DMO always stands for a Destination Management Organization, which their primary function is to attract visitors and enhance local economy through the purchase of room nights, food, beverage, retail items, transportation, and visitor services. So in a hospitality text, we call this economic impact onto a city. And that's what we at a DMO really focus on is to bring an economic impact into our city to encourage usage of local items. So, and then we have a DMC. What does a DMC do? It basically provides the services to all those people that are coming in that we're bringing into the city as a DMO. So what I like to say is that DMCs take care of the traveler's needs from the moment they land on a plane into a destination to the moment they leave on that plane out of the destination, whether it be transportation, tours, if it's through a convention, do they have offsite needs such as offsite events, etc. Again, I can go all into this. And then there's event planners. Sometimes they're called meeting planners. Sometimes they're called event coordinators. Depending on the company you work for, depending on the hierarchy structure, this can be a myriad of different names. But event planners are basically the people who plan the operation of a specific event. Different from a DMC. DMC, again, caters to the entire experience, while event planner has kind of one touch point for the experience, and that's usually the event. So in this instance, let's just say I'm hosting a convention at LATCB, the Los Angeles Tourism Convention Board, our convention center. Let's say I'm hosting an event there. The convention center, we book the business and they're coming. So the DMC will take care of their transportation, they'll take care of their, activities when they're here. And then an event planner will go ahead and plan their welcome reception. So that's kind of how you can kind of see it all come together. And that's kind of how they work in tandem with each other as well. Again, they're not the same things at all, but they work very much overlapping and with each other. So
definitely. Thank you for that clarification. It's always good to get a refresher on that. And for those on the call who maybe haven't heard of all these terms, great intro to start off with that. You obviously know a bit about all of these things because you've done several sides of this equation. So tell us a little bit about what jobs you have taken throughout your career to get you to where you are now and how those kind of played into preparation for your current role.
Sure. So I actually started in the hospitality sector. When I first moved to California about 10 years ago, I was a cart girl at a golf course and we did private events. And so I was actually on the serving staff as well as working in a golf course. And so I kind of like started off working events. And after seeing that, I was like, gosh, I love this. This is a fun industry. I want to learn more. So I worked my way up to be an event coordinator, kind of started doing private events, things like bridal showers, birthday parties, smaller scale things like that. Then worked my way up to weddings, which weddings is a whole different animal. And then actually once I transferred, because I originally started at Moore Park Community College, went there for 2 years. And then I actually went to Cal Lutheran for 2 years as well. Once I transferred over to Cal Lutheran, I actually worked at the campus services, where they do a lot of when people want to book rooms at Cal Lutheran, I did like the back end booking of the room. So I got a little bit of experience there. That was vital experience, I have to say. I forgot the system that they work with. I want to say it was Delphi. But that booking system prepared me to go into convention center business. And then from there, I actually became a marketing and event coordinator at a venue. So I kind of got the experience of not just doing the events, but also how do I market for the events? How do I draw in visitors? How do I draw in guests, attendees, all that? And then actually, once that started off as an internship, became a full-time job post-graduation. And then soon after that, I was looking for the next best step. And Pasadena Convention Center, which was my previous employer, they were hiring for a sales coordinator. And so I jumped on the opportunity, and I always like to tie this back. I actually found the job posting for Pasadena Convention Center on Cal Lutheran Career Services. So, I just have to throw that in there because Cal Lutheran has done me good.
All right, well, that's a perfect segue because now I want to talk about your experience with your education and how it prepared you for these roles and the career path you've taken. So you mentioned you went to Moore Park, where many of my students are attending, and then CLU, obviously, where we both are alums, and where I teach now as well. So tell me about your education experience and how it prepared you, and maybe also how it didn't prepare you for what you've encountered in your career.
So I love starting with Moore Park. I absolutely adored Moore Park. Coming out to California, I'm originally from Maryland. Community colleges weren't as much as a thing in Maryland as it is in California. And I was blown away with the education that I received at Moore Park. I absolutely loved it. My greatest advice to Moore Park students is obviously you have to do your core classes, but get creative with your core classes. So one of the things I had to do when I was in school, as I'm sure you still have to do, was a science with a lab. Well, at Moore Park, they allowed you to take astronomy and then as your science, and then your lab was stargazing, which I took because I was like, that sounds fun. But when I started working at Pasadena Convention Center, one of our clients and one of our partners is NASA JPL. And so a lot of the clients that we ended up actually working with were astronomical scientists. And so I had this baseline very baseline education from like what I conceptually knew what they did. And so when we would go there and we had conversation, I would understand about, certain rovers that they were working on. Mars rover, we got to see what Mars rover like 21 or 22 being built. And having just baseline conceptual understanding, I was able to meet Bill Nye, the science guy, and I was able to like talk to him about what he was able to do. And so you never know when your education is going to play a significant role in your career. And it's always in the least expected ways. Like, I didn't know that because I know what black holes were, it would be a conversation starter for certain groups, but it is. That's just one that I always love to touch base on. Cal Lutheran, I received a business administration with an emphasis in marketing. And I actually wanted to go to hospitality school, but it wasn't in the cards for me to go to hospitality school because I knew I wanted to do hospitality. And so I was like, what is the next thing that I can get that I'm passionate about and that I want to, like, I think is interesting. And so consumer behavior marketing was the next thing. Two classes that I would say that absolutely prepared me for my future was, again, consumer behavior and managerial accounting. I hate to tell you guys, you have to take managerial accounting. You have to do expense reports in life, and just having that baseline understanding of checks and balances and how things work in an accounting way, understanding sunk costs and what makes sense in a project is vital to your management experience, and how you operate as a manager as well. But, I absolutely loved both of those, classes and concepts. And, I like I said before, I think Cal Lutheran has a really good community, which I think really prepared me for my future as well, for not just business, but creating a culture of inclusivity and also connectivity. So, I remember some of my business classes being like, you have to friend everybody in this class on LinkedIn right now. If by the time you get to 25, make sure you have 500 friend or like connections on LinkedIn. So those were things that I think really prepared me well going into hospitality.
Definitely some good advice for our students on their path forward towards this industry. And we were talking the other day, and not to throw your husband under the bus, but you said that you two talk about your educational experience because he did go to school for hospitality, and how you feel you were prepared differently to enter the workforce. So tell me a little bit about that.
So one thing I want to touch base on that too is, my husband's name's Taylor. Taylor went to a hospitality school where they did focus in on restaurant and hotel management. We work for CVBs, which stand for Convention and Visitors Bureaus. So in the CVB culture, even though we work with hotels and we certainly work with restaurants, they are not the same. And they are not like, what we do is very different from what the hotels and restaurants do. So he had very specific hospitality management skills that might have prepared him more for dealing with hotels, but I had a more broad marketing degree, which definitely prepared me more for what I'm doing now. So I had a broader education where he had a more specific education. But one thing I do want to point out about this too is that when you're in college, and this is one thing that I certainly felt graduating college, is when you're in college, you have an idea of what you want to do. You have an idea of what marketing is and what hospitality is and what this is. In reality, it is so much more niche than that. I mean, it is, you go out there, and when I tell you guys what I do, it is so very specific that overarching degree really helped me conceptually, but getting in and kind of getting your hands dirty, your feet wet, whatever the terminology is, like getting into it and getting that experience will be a lot more beneficial. My dad has a great saying that I love to quote is, getting your college degree is like getting a ticket onto the train. Once you get on the train, you can go everywhere and wherever you want. You can take that marketing degree, you can take that business degree, you can take that hospitality degree and really go anywhere within that market that you want to go, but you just have to get on the train. And so that's what I love that this hospitality program is getting you prepared for where you're going to go. So
definitely. And we mentioned that, you attended CLU before we had our hospitality program. So that wasn't
yes.
even an option for you. And same for me. I'm like, why didn't they have this back then? But
I
but
would have
now
loved that.
right. And I've heard that time and time again from alums as I'm reaching out to people
Yeah.
trying to make these connections for these kind of speaking opportunities. They're just so thrilled that we have this program now and, wishing we had it when they were students. But just to touch on a couple of the things, since we're shameless plug here, a couple of things you touched on. We are a very broad general hospitality degree. We don't specialize on hotels and restaurants or different specific areas, right? We try to really give the students a broad overview for the industry so that they have the option to kind of take it wherever. I love the train analogy. They can take that train wherever they want to go, but they're on it, right?
Yeah.
And then also what you touched on about getting your hands dirty, getting in there. We do require our students to do internships because it is so critical to get that hands-on experience. And I know when I was a student in the business school, we weren't required to do internships in the business major, but I did. And I was so glad I had that experience. So glad that we have that for our students in the hospitality program as a requirement, because it is so valuable. Yeah. So we talked a little about what prepared you for what you're doing now. So why don't you tell us kind of what your job is like, because it is so niche and so specific to this one role. Tell us what your typical day, week, in your job is like.
And again, this is what I love about hospitality is my weeks are never the same. And it's what I do is so across the board. And I love that about it. I don't go into work, punch at 9, leave at 5, and I'm just like doing reports. So I will tell you what this week looks like. So this week, what I do is I work destination services manager is a very fancy term that says I bring in visitors and show them the LA experience. And so I work with the PR team, I work with the marketing team, and I work with the travel trade team. Travel trade is tour operators, where we bring in tour operators. That's travel trade. That's what it means, is tour operators. Very baseline, but for PR, we bring in people who are journalists. And for our journalist outlets such as like Wall Street Journal, USA Today, those kind of magazines, and we bring them in and we were like, okay, we want you to write an article about the top 5 museums in LA, and we want you to publish this article. So we bring them in and we give them a nice kind of like tour of LA. I'm working right now with a couple of international bloggers and bring them in, show them the highlights of LA so that they can go home and blog about, this is what's so great about LA and this is why you should travel there. And then on top, and like I said, I work with the tour operators. So one of our biggest markets is China. So we'll bring in, Chinese or tour operators and say, these are the places in LA that we think that your clientele will really like, depending whether they're luxury, which means they're high end, or if they're, family, which means, obviously we'll have things that are more kids friendly oriented. But essentially I'm a really nice tour guide for all these people coming in, and I create their itineraries. I basically, connect with all the fantastic hotels within our area, attractions such as Universal Studios, Warner Brothers, places like that, and create an experience for all these people that make them want to go out and tell other people to have this experience. So that's what I do.
That's awesome. It's like free samples, right? It's like sampling out so that they want to go tell their friends, right? Well, and their clients, right? Exactly. It's fantastic. So you've told us a little about what you do. So let's talk about what skills or traits or even like certifications, things that are really helpful to get into the line of work that you do. And with the caveat of, when we talked about it, you mentioned that it's very different today than it was a couple of years ago. COVID has changed things. And so what does someone entering the hospitality field right now, wanting to get into this line of work, what should they be doing to prepare themselves?
First, prepare your mindset. and your siblings, your parents, even your friends, if they're a couple of years older than you, going into the job field, they had a job description and that they were expected to perform to their job description. In today's market, you may apply for a job that has a job description, but you're going to be expected to do a lot more because especially in hospitality, and I'm sure many people know that hospitality was hit really hard during the pandemic. And we are coming back, and we're coming back, quickly and hopefully strong. And we are seeing, this pickup, which is fantastic, but you're going to be asked to do a lot more than you were typically asked to do in the past. And so having that jack of all trades, wearing several hats mentality going into it is going to be vital. The current job that I have, I interviewed during the pandemic, and they were like, so this is what the job description says, but like, we don't know what we're going to give you yet. And I was like, I'm here for the challenge. Being there and showing up for the challenge is half the battle that you're going to fight in any job that you're going to get after. And I don't even think that's hospitality specific. I think a lot of the industries that were hit hard are going to be like, okay, but like, what else can you do? And so it's having that diverse portfolio and being able to do multiple things is going to be killer on your resume going out into hospitality. And just having that not just a go-get-it attitude, but having that open attitude, like, yes, I'm willing to help if I have the time and capabilities to. So that's definitely something that before I never had to do before, and especially certainly applying for a job. But another question you asked is what certifications are good for hospitality. Hospitality is very much a certification-driven industry. More so sometimes than I think higher education is, where master's degrees in hospitality are very valued, but having a certification is even more so into certain degrees. Some of the top ones I can think of is your CMP, which means is a certified meeting planner. These, if you look them up, it's like through the events council industry. They're through different associations that offer these education at these higher level of education, so to speak. Another one is the CEM, which is a certified exhibition management. And so that's kind of more for trade shows. And then we have a CVP, which is a certified venue professional. So they're just like a few. There are so many certifications. You could like spend hours on the internet just looking up all the certifications you can get in hospitality. If you guys have any questions about like, I want to go this direction with my career, what certification do you think would be best for me? I can certainly give you my recommendations based on what I've seen. I don't have any certifications yet, simply because of it hasn't been the right time. You also need a certain amount of years of experience in order to get certain certifications. Some of them are only 3 years of experience. Some of them are 7, some of them are 17. Just depends on your level of experience. But certifications are really great in our industry.
Yeah, and definitely, like you mentioned, some of them do require experience. You have to get out there and start working before you can even attempt to get them. But there are certifications you can earn while you're in your education, while you're a student. So I know at Moorpark College, we offer students the opportunity to get a ServSafe Manager certification. We offer students the opportunity to get Manage First certifications that are through the National Restaurant Association in different areas. And then also, at Cal Lutheran, in some of our classes, we have CVent certifications, Smith Travel Research, STR certifications, different things available to our students as well. So all things that are going to add to the resume to just set you apart and give you one more line in your skill set, right? Like you were saying, to be that jack of all trade that offers more value to your future employer, right? That's the goal right now. It's to give them the most bang for their buck when they hire you, right?
And I'm so glad you mentioned CVent. CVent is a universally used platform. And I have my virtual CVent certification, which, I forgot that I had that, but CVent is a universal tool used by meeting planners, venues, hotels, like it is the end all be all of our industry. So I'm so happy to hear that you guys have that, because if you have on your resume going into this industry, you are familiar with CPEN, game changer. So yeah, I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, it's those little things that set you apart. So any
Yeah.
other tips to students that want to get into the industry? Anything else? Little gems, little suggestions, ideas?
Yeah.
We can come back to
I
it.
mean, like everybody's going to tell you, like I already said, internships, they're kind of the bread and butter. I know sometimes internships are hard to obtain. I know sometimes internships aren't paid, and that's really difficult for the student to be able to accommodate a full school schedule, an internship, and trying to work to make ends meet. Like, I totally get it. Was in the same boat as you guys, but there are paid internships out there. So trying to and leverage yourself as best as you can going into the professional there and beyond after college, so to speak. There's also a lot of additional education and associations that you guys can kind of look into, and they have student programs. One of them is MPI, which is Meeting Planners International, and they have a student platform, and they actually have webinars and education, and in some instance even some certifications that you guys can look into. They actually have meetups with other professionals in the hospitality industry. There's a Southern California chapter. There's so many different chapters that you can get involved in depending on where you are. And they actually also have a student discount if you do choose to go and join Meeting Planners International. There's also ESPA. It's ESPA, ESPA. That's Event Services Professionals Association. They also have student-oriented education as well. They have webinars that are really great to get yourself familiar kind of with how the industry is going. Everything from and event services, those ones are more geared towards like convention groups and servicing convention groups. So that's a very niche association. So if you have any questions about what these associations are, feel free to reach out to me, and I can push you into the right direction of where to go. A great one that has internship opportunities through it is IAVM. IAVM. And that is International Association of Venue Managers. And they offer internships, and they actually have a partnership with Destination International, which is the overarching tourism. I'm sorry, not tourism. That's like the like CVP kind of overarching association for our industry. They have a lot of great internship opportunities, student opportunities. They actually also have some speaker opportunities where they'll work with you, whether you want to host at your class or host in a more private setting, a couple of students, and you guys want to have like a venue manager come on site and talk about venue management. And these are going to be large venue managers. They're going to be like SoFi Stadium venue managers. They're going to be massive like Las Vegas Convention Center venue managers. These are like large scale. So you'll get really great experience there. So those, looking into different associations and what student opportunities they have is a great recommendation that I have to look into. I kind of wish I had somebody who would like tell me like, hey, when you're in school, like look at this, maybe you can figure out what you want to do in hospitality before you actually graduate, which is, I'm so happy you guys have this to like kind of guide people after once they graduate.
Of course. And that's a perfect segue into talking about our mentorship opportunities. So something that CLU is launching this year is custom mentorship experiences for our students. So every student who is in the hospitality program, or even our business students who are interested in going into hospitality, we will pair them with someone like you, Amanda, who works in the industry, who does something that they want to do one day. And you will serve as a mentor for that student throughout their college education and beyond. And so that's something that we're offering at CLU that is a unique experience that maybe not all the bigger schools are able to offer to all of their students. And so that's something really cool that we're setting up. And so if Amanda seems like a good fit for someone you would want as a mentor, I don't know who wouldn't, you're amazing. You can reach out to us and we'd be happy to connect you with her. If you are not a CLU student and you want to get in touch with her, of course, you can still reach out and she'd be happy to help you. But that's definitely something that we're excited about and looking forward to connecting all of our students with wonderful industry representatives who can really help guide them. Because like you said, it's tough out there knowing where to go. There's so many opportunities with these associations and internships and this and that, and you don't know what the right path is, right? What the right choices are. So having that mentorship is huge to help to have someone kind of guide you along the way. And then something else I wanted to touch on about what you talked about was internships can be hard to find. If you go to Moorpark College or CLU, they are not hard to find. We have amazing partnerships. And like you said, you got your internship initially, your first job through the career postings on CLU. And so just know that there are resources there for you and whatever school you attend, right? We have staff members dedicated to working with industry, finding partnerships and getting those opportunities solidified so that you can just go on the website or go into the office and talk to someone and find those opportunities. So for all of our students watching, know that it is not hard to find an internship. We can help you find one and that is paid if it needs to be, right? If, like you mentioned, it's hard to make ends meet. So if you're not in a position where you can take an unpaid internship, we can find you a paid internship. So we will figure it out, but know that there are resources available for you at your institution to help you find those opportunities and get you in. And a lot of times those opportunities are what transition you into your first real job, right? Real job after your internship.
And Christy, I want to build on that because it is true. Like before going to Cal Lutheran, I was like, how do I find jobs here? What do I do? And I went to the career services, sat down and had a meeting, and it was like an hour-long meeting. They asked me really great questions. And they were able to guide me a little bit more into, and I was one of those students who said, I cannot not get paid. And so I was like, I need a job that pays. And they were able to connect me with a lot of really great resources. And at that point, it was just like, okay, which one do I want? So, and this was certainly true when I graduated. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but the career services are there for you for life. So even as an alum, I can still go in and say, and that's during the pandemic, I did look and see, okay, what career services what is Cal Lutheran posting on their job listings? It's different than and certainly was able to connect me with other job listings and other job postings. So career services at Cal Lutheran is stellar.
Definitely. They've got it under control. And that is true. It is a lifetime service for all of our alum. So, if you go to CLU, know that you have that in your back pocket forever. You can follow up with them. They'll help you update your resume. They'll help do mock interviews. They'll help connect you with job opportunities down the road. So know that it is a lifetime service. Really cool offering for our CLU family. So definitely a great plug there for our CLU Career Services team. So let's switch gears a little. Let's talk about what is your favorite part of your job?
My favorite part of my job is it truly is one of the most diverse jobs that you can get into. Diversity of people, diversity of thought, diversity of culture, exposure. It is the amount of people that I come across that are just so different from me, and I celebrating those differences is really amazing. I get to work for one of the last things I did before the pandemic is we brought a tour group from Japan out and learning about them and what they like to do and and in the sense of how a Japanese traveler once like in the sense of the tour groups, what they're looking for, what they want to do, where they like to dine, what they consider the American experience to be, or the LA experience to be for that matter. I really love learning about that. It is a industry that is really welcoming and really connective. It's not a really competitive industry, so to speak. I mean, hotels and convention centers are technically competing for bids for, certain events, but especially certainly pre-pandemic, and we're hoping to get there again, there was never short of a business. So we were somebody who was like, oh, this doesn't work for us. Well, this might work for so-and-so, and they're a partner of us. So let's pass it on there. When you go to a hospitality convention or meeting or anything like that, it is just fun. Like, I can't tell, I don't know who else can go to work and say, yeah, I have a fun job. We're here 40 hours a week, and most of our time is spent at work. You might want to have fun with it. So I go into each and every day and I'm like, yeah, I have fun at my job. I like it. It's fun.
Definitely. That's when you can say that, you've done it right? You figured out the life's mission is to make it a good time. So tell me about, let's keep on this favorite topic. Tell me about one of the favorite events that you have planned. You told me when we were talking about the SES event that you worked on. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So SES stands for the Council of Engineering Science Society Executives. It took me a very long time to remember that. But what I liked about that group so much wasn't because of the group itself, but because I felt like that was the most experience I got based on the contract that they had with the Pasadena Convention Center, was that we had to take on a lot of responsibility. And so as the destination services manager there, I had to act as a meeting planner. I had to act as a DMC, in addition to my regular role as a DMO. And so I felt that was a really great, all-rounded experience that by the end of that conference, I was like, please leave, I'm done with you guys. But it was so rewarding. I also worked with my husband at the Pasadena Convention Center, and this was like the time period that I got to know him a lot more because he was the sales manager on this event. So we just had a little workplace romance. I mean, afterwards, but I really got to know him. So it was a very rewarding experience, both personally and professionally.
Those are always good when you can check both boxes, right? That's awesome to hear. So let's talk about how this all comes together. So you mentioned in that position for that event, you kind of were the jack of all trades. You made it all happen, but normally it's a team effort. So tell me about your team right now, which is much smaller than it would have been pre-pandemic, right? And what you do, how you work together, and then how you work within the greater organization as a team, and then how you work with outside organizations to bring all this together to make things happen for your clients.
Sure. So I work for the Global Tourism Department office, however you like to say it. And so my position is unique that it actually kind of funnels out into 3 different departments. And so working in tandem with the travel trade group, like I mentioned before, which is kind of more under that global tourism and promotion of that. Then there's the typical marketing, which is more based in the influencer kind of marketing. And then there's the PR group, our PR department. And so all of us make up about 12 people. So day in, day out, working in that has its own challenges, but also has its really great rewards in the sense that going back to the jack of all trades, I'm really learning a lot about all the different departments and how to best service and assist in any requirements that they have, how to best operate in a smaller environment where there typically wasn't my position, because those positions were within those departments. And we certainly work with outside PR agencies. We work with outside, we work with hotels. We work with theme parks. We work with experiences, other trade operators. And so kind of the big ones that we would work with are, of course, Universal Studios. Those are, and the DMO that I work for, LATCB, it is a membership-based Visitors Bureau, Convention and Visitors Bureau. And so we have a lot of partners based on that, whether they be, like I said, hotels. Hotels is a big one, always will be, because our economic impact is really driven by hotel stays, which is why convention business is so big. LA is also considered a tier 1 city, which means it has nothing to do with the size of the city and everything to do with like the amount of people that come to it based on the room nights. So that's not something they teach you in like, but like working, is that answering your question?
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing I think, like you touched on before, our students don't always understand how specific the different roles are within the industry. They think of it as these big umbrellas of hotels, restaurants, travel and tourism, which is such a huge umbrella. And your job is so specific right down here. So it's amazing for, I think, students to get the insight into what happens day in and day out, right under our noses, right in our backyard here, to, you know, that's in our industry, with amazing career opportunities that they probably weren't aware of yesterday, and now they are, you know.
And if you think about this, I work in hospitality. The department I work for is global tourism. It is under that marketing umbrella. And, you know, when I went to school, I was like, I'm going to do consumer behavior, and I'm going to look at data, and I'm going to draw conclusions based on this data. I don't do that. So I work for a marketing agency, which basically promotes the city of Los Angeles. But how we do that is so different and so niche, like you said, to what I ever thought I was going to do. And do I look at data and draw conclusions from it? Yeah, but not always. I read surveys a lot, and I work with partners and that communication skills. Oh, also listen to everybody who ever told you how to write an email. Do yourself a favor. That is a great advice tip. So, you know, it's, don't get, I mentioned this before, don't get so caught up on like, oh, I have to get a marketing job or I have to get a hotel management job. I have to, because that's think about the broad picture, think about what you like to do, get those experiences through internships, mentorships, even just going on a site visit, you know, or, you know, going on a tour of something and saying like, how does this operate? How do you do this? It's so invaluable.
Definitely. Yeah. So many jobs out there and career paths that our students don't even know exist. And that's why we try so hard to do stuff like this, to bring in speakers like you, to go, like you said, on site visits and check out local businesses and learn from them, see how the operations work. So valuable to get that experience. So you mentioned you used to work at Pasadena, and I heard they might be hiring.
They are hiring for a part-time visitor services something coordinator. I don't know. So it's a visitor services. I quickly looked at the job posting, and essentially it's a really great opportunity in the sense that you get the baseline, and it's at the Pasadena Convention Center. So what you would be doing is you would be greeting visitors that would come to the convention center, either directing them where they needed to go within the city, or assisting them with whatever like the needs that they come and say, I'm at this convention, where do I go? What do I do? I have questions about parking. I have, you know, it's really the basis. It's a at the visitor bureau. So it's really basis of like getting that understand of the nitty gritty, why we do what we do within the convention and visitor bureau industry. So if you're interested in conventions and visitor bureau, which is also the larger part of a DMO that falls under into a DMO. If you're keeping along with like how this pie chart goes, it's quite complex. But if you guys are interested in that, definitely it's posted on LinkedIn. If you look up the Pasadena Convention and Visitors Bureau, It is like a couple hours old. So if you are interested in looking into that opportunity, and they're a fantastic staff. They will work with your school schedule, depending what it is. But yeah, also my husband still works there, so you can say hi.
You get to work with him. So that's nothing wrong with that, right? But he's taken, ladies. But what a wonderful opportunity, hot off the presses. That would be a great opportunity for a student who wants to go into this industry or isn't sure. Because that's the best part about a part-time job. It's you try it out, you do it for a year or so, and you see how it goes. So great opportunities. But if that's not the right fit, again, our career services team at CLU, at Moore Park, at whatever school you attend, is there to help you find the right opportunities. So keep that in mind. So I think we're going to wrap it up. This has been such a wonderful experience to talk to you, Amanda, tonight, and hear some more about what you do and the corner of the industry that I think so few people really understand and know about. So it's great for our students to be aware of this. Always great to have a CLU alum on with us and to kick this series off on a high note with you. Any parting words that you want to impart to the students who might be watching this today or in a future recording?
Sure. Hospitality is the business of making connections and making meaningful connections, genuine connections. So as a budding student or as a student and a budding professional, some of my greatest recommendations, advice also is to make connections with your fellow students, whether or not they are in hospitality or not. And every person that you meet that has any sort of industry connection, get their name, get their number, or connect with them on LinkedIn. During the pandemic, when I was laid off during the pandemic, I actually found another job because of a connection that I made years and years ago of working with somebody, and we connected on LinkedIn. And when I saw that she was hiring, her company was hiring, I messaged her on LinkedIn. So having those connections, and also in the other sense, like having a connection will maybe get you a job in the future, but it might also get you a service that you need. Whether, I'm a convention center and I'm looking for a meeting planner. Oh, well, you know what? I see that Christy used to be a meeting planner and she has her own company and we went to school together. Let me reach out to her to see if she's interested. Those connections for services are so valuable, especially in the industry that we work in. So make those connections, but make them genuine. Don't just be like, I need to hit 500 by 25. Make genuine connections, because we're in the industry of making experiences and making experiences that will be remembered for years and years to come.
Definitely. Great advice for students. I know you guys are so lucky nowadays with LinkedIn. We didn't have that when I was a student, right?
Yeah.
We can just look people up and click. Yeah. So we had to actually get someone's paper business card and like type their information in. So very cool.
In the Rolodex.
Right? Physical Rolodex. People, they don't even know what that word is. Well, thank you so much for all of the wonderful insights and advice. This has been a wonderful experience. And again, if you're interested in connecting with Amanda or finding a mentor in another area of the industry, we are here to help. So please reach out. Our contact info is on the website, callutheran.edu/ I don't know if it's hospitality and tourism management, but if you just Google Cal Lutheran hospitality, we come up. So we're here to help and look forward to engaging with more industry professionals. Stay tuned for our upcoming event. It's going to be on December 8th with Jen Marie Del Carpio, and she is amazing. She works for a company that really focuses on the events industry, but doing it better and doing it more sustainably. So she's got a startup going. She used to work for Disney, all kinds of amazing stuff. So stay tuned. Be sure to join us for that on December 8th. And for now, we'll sign off. Thanks so much, Amanda. Have a great evening.
Have a great night, everybody.